Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited for today's video. I'm going to be ranking all of the palettes that I used throughout the month of April, and I have 21 palettes to rank for you guys today, which makes me super happy that I was able to get use out of a good chunk of my palette collection. I feel like with doing Pan That Palette this year, I feel like, especially, I'm also doing No Pan Left Behind, and then every new palette that I bring into my collection, I'm trying to use each shade at least 2 or 3 times. So a part of me is like, ugh, I feel like there's a chunk of my palette collection going unused. So using 21 palettes, 21 different palettes at least one time throughout the month of April just feels really good, and I'm going to rank them for you guys today. So if you're interested in seeing how I would rank the palettes that I used throughout the month of April, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project panning content, palette themed content, or just chit chatting about makeup, I'd love if you consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. Hey you guys, this makes me so sad, but coming in dead last is the palette that is currently on my eyes. Now granted, this is the first time I've used this palette, so take this with a grain of salt. This is the first impressions, but this is the Lawless the One eyeshadow palette. This shade right here, Blackberry I believe it is. Very dry, does not blend, very patchy. I feel like it almost like took shadow off of my eye, which is such a disappointment. Now I will say I did really enjoy these 2 matte shades. The shimmers were not as impactful as I'm used to in Lawless palettes, and I also just feel like they were a little bit more crumbly and not quite as smooth as other Lawless palettes I've tried. Now I will always revert back to the large Lawless palette. I was not impressed with. I did not think the quality in that is good. I am really excited to, I haven't used these 2 shades right here, or this shade right here. I'm excited for this shade because it looks like my perfect like dusty light pink mauve, so I'm hoping I like that. I will continue to test this palette, but off of first impressions, this would be my least favorite palette that I used throughout the month of April. And then we have this palette, which I'm pretty sure is going to end up decluttered in my next declutter. This is the Pat McGrath Rose Decadance palette, and it's tough because I do enjoy this palette. I obviously have a pan in this shade here, but I was also really disappointed in this shade right here. I felt like it was really crumbly, and I'm not sure if it's always been that way or if the quality of this palette is just starting to decline as it's gotten older in my collection. The 2 mattes are just not like matte shades I reach for that frequently, and I just don't know that I need this palette in my collection anymore. Like, I feel like this palette, me using this palette would take away from me using a palette that I would enjoy more. So you may see that in my next upcoming palette declutter, which wouldn't be until the end of June, but it's definitely on my mind as a palette that I will potentially be saying adios to. Coming in at number 19, I have the Charlotte Tilbury Exaggerize Quad. I just think this is so overpriced for what it is. I could not rank this any higher. Like, it's fine, and I might even end up trying to like do this as a Pan That Quad or something, but do not spend your $53 or $54 or whatever, however over $50 on these Charlotte Tilbury quads. I just do not think that they're worth it, in my opinion. I know some people love them. In my opinion, do not spend your money on that. Coming in at number 18, I have the Natasha Denona Mini Glam eyeshadow palette. This palette just isn't a favorite in my collection. It's not a favorite of my Natasha Denona minis. It doesn't impress me too much, but I would love to hit pan on the shade down here. I do like this shade as an inner corner highlight, and I also think this shimmer shade is quite beautiful. Aside from that, I don't think this palette is that special, so that would be my number 18. And then coming in at number 17, I think I'm just bored and burnt out from this palette. This is my Pan That palette. It is the ABH Sultry palette. If you guys missed my most recent Pan That palette update, I will leave that linked below. I believe that went up yesterday. And in that video, I share with you that I'm feeling a little bit of Pan That palette fatigue. And I'm gonna try and give myself May kind of like off, where I don't heavily focus on this palette and just reach for it organically, but don't force myself to reach for it, because I just need a minute. I need a minute from this palette. Like, we just need a little bit of a break, and then we'll come back together. But I'm just kind of bored of this palette. I still think it's a beautiful palette, obviously. I'm just bored. Coming in at number 16, a palette in the same vein is the ColourPop Going Coconuts palette. A really beautiful brown neutral palette. It's just, I'm bored. I'm just bored of doing looks with shades like this, so I couldn't rank this one any higher. Coming in number 15, you guys, I love this palette. It's my Tartelette in Bloom. But again, I'm just like wanting something a little bit more than like a cool toned or a neutral look right now, which is why this one is just ranking at number 15. Still love the palette, love the quality. I really like the majority of the palettes that I'm ranking, but I've just been itching to play around more with color. I've been having fun with color, pops of color, whatever it might be. So those are the palettes that you're gonna see ranking higher, at least for this update. Maybe my mind will totally shift in May, and that's why I do a ranking every single month, but that is where I'm currently feeling like this palette lies. Coming in number 14, I have the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. This is going in my No Pan Left Behind. Spoiler, I did complete this palette, and I actually had so much fun when I started to play around with this palette. I had so much fun creating looks with this. I am just over cool toned looks, but I really did enjoy my time with this palette. I'm excited to see pictures of like how the shadows look now versus when I pulled this in, because I did end up reaching for quite a few of these shadows more than one time to complete this for the Pan That palette. I just love the not matte shadows in here. There's so many different tones and textures and shades. It's really beautiful. I'm very excited to pull this one out again. Maybe like winter next year, winter this year, I mean. But right now I just need a break from cool toned looks, but I really did have fun using that one. And then coming in at number 14, I have the Pat McGrath Utopian palette. This was also going in my Pan That palette, and I did complete this one, but you guys already knew that from the most recent update. This is a beautiful palette. I don't feel like I've played around with this one enough. I really enjoyed using this shade as a blush, and I am excited to continue to reach into this palette. I think I could do some really fun kind of sultry summer eye looks, especially with some of these shades right here. Love these two shades on the end, and I am, like I said, excited to continue to play around with this palette, but as of right now, that's my number 14. Coming in at number 13 is this palette right here. I have only done one look with this palette, but I've really enjoyed, and I only used a couple of the shades. My sister actually gave me this palette, and I was trying to decide whether or not I wanted to keep it or not, but I'm definitely going to keep it. It's the Aether Beauty Summer Solstice palette, and I love the matte shades in this palette. I think they're so pretty, and just for the perfect, like, warm but not too warm matte look, I really liked these two shades specifically. I really like this shade for an inner corner, and I'm excited to continue to play around with this eyeshadow palette. So number 13 right now, but this is something that I could see ranking even higher as I continue to use this palette throughout the spring and summer months. Coming in at number 12, I have the Natasha Denona Retro Glam palette. Again, it's like cooler tones. Now, I really enjoyed a look that I created. It was like a blue look, and I loved the look that I created, but I'm just really, as I keep saying, getting kind of burnt out from doing cool tones, and I'm very excited for the warmer months and warmer makeup. I'm just very excited for it, but I, again, enjoyed the look that I created. I actually just created my own custom Natasha Denona palette today for May. It actually looks a lot like the ABH Norvina palette. I didn't do it on purpose, but it really does look like that. And I'm curious to see if doing that will make me use some of my Natasha Denona shadows more. And if I do, I want to continue to make my own custom Natasha palette kind of each month. I had so much fun doing that, where I just popped out the shades and created my own. I posted that on my Instagram, so follow me on Instagram if you are not. Sometimes I'm good about sharing on Instagram. Most of the time I'm really not, but if you're interested, I do have a post on my custom palette on Instagram, so go check that post out if you're curious about that custom palette. And then coming in at number 11, speaking of, is my ABH Norvina palette. I pulled this palette in and used it a couple of times, paired with my ABH Sultry, just to try and get some use, just to try and make things a little bit different, have a little bit more fun. I actually really enjoyed the shade Rose Gold, and I'm excited to continue to play with this palette some more, get more use out of the shimmers. Perhaps I'll even try and pan this palette sometime. We'll see, because this palette has definitely been on my chopping block before, so I don't know about that for sure. Coming in at number 10, I have this Kaja stack. Kaja sent over their 2 newest stacks, and this is the Coral Sunrise stack. This is really, really beautiful, and I am going to get so much use out of this stack this summer. I just have a feeling. I've been really into like a coral look. I had so much fun creating the look that I created, and the only thing I will say is this top, more chunky shimmer shade, there's a bit of a learning curve, and it's one of those shades where like you can get like a big chunk kind of stuck to your lid, and then you kind of have to like blend it out, so it can make your eyelids look really heavy. And that is like my one, I don't even want to call it a gripe, but I've used this a couple of times and I've had to like really focus on how to like get this top shade to not look super heavy and like crepey kind of on my eyelids, but when you get it there, it's really, really beautiful. And I've really actually enjoyed this stack from Kaja. I am a little bit mad at myself because I ended up decluttering the mauve, like the mauve moment stack, because I didn't think I was going to get a ton of use out of it. But lately I've been like really itching to reach for my Kaja stacks, so there's that. Coming in at number 9, I have my Hela palette in collaboration, the Oden's Eye Hela palette in collaboration with Angie. I was reaching for this in hopes that I would hit pan on this shade right here. This is in the shade Double Sided, and I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but I do have an itty bitty tiny pan up there, which just makes me so excited. I absolutely love this palette, but I was really only reaching into this palette for this as an inner corner highlight. That's why I'm ranking this one a little bit lower. Still love this palette. Very excited to continue to reach for this palette. In fact, I definitely need to pull this palette out and get use out of this shade for like a bright, hot coral summer look. So I feel like I should set that aside to remind myself of that. Plus, I've been playing around with using shadows as nail polish this past month, which has just opened my eyes completely to a whole new side of my palettes, and kind of thinking through what shades I can use as nail polishes and have fun with that. So I've had so much fun doing that this past month. Coming in, I think we're at number 8, I have my ColourPop Limoncello palette. I only reached for this I think 2 times, but I am so excited to continue to get use out of this palette for the spring months, the summer months. Y'all know I love this palette so much. I haven't yet reached, oh, I need to reach into this yellow shade. Oh, I'm so excited already. I'm like thinking through other looks that I want to do. I'm so excited to be reaching for this palette more, but I only reached for it a couple times, which is why I'm ranking it just a little bit lower. Coming in at number 7, I have my Dose of Colors Friendcation palette. I was really excited to reach into this again, and I am, no, I didn't go to a country concert, but I do have plans to go to some country concerts this summer. So we know this palette is getting pulled out. This is my go-to country concert palette. This is another palette I'm kind of thinking would potentially be fun as I'm thinking through like what my Pan That palette will be for next year if I do a Pan That palette, which I kind of want to. Like, I do kind of want to still. And this is what I've been thinking about. Such a fun palette. Very excited to continue to use this palette. I don't have a single pan in this palette yet, but I feel like with a little bit of effort on these matte shades, I definitely could have a pan. So I will continue to reach for this one, and perhaps it'll rank even higher in a month from now, who knows. Coming in at number 6, I have the Sea Talk palette. This is the Oden's Eye collaboration with Lauren from Lauren May Beauty, which shout out Lauren May Fragrance. I freaking have been obsessed and binge watching so much, just searching for that perfect summer fragrance. Love Lauren's channel, love her fragrance channel. So was so excited about this palette. I think it's such a beautiful color story, and you guys know I love Oden's Eye's formula. I will say that I was a little bit disappointed in some of the mattes. I felt like I was struggling to blend them as seamlessly as I have been able to in the past. And there was one, I think maybe it was Ocean Jewel. Was it Ocean? No, maybe it was Sunken Treasure that I wasn't loving the way that it was going onto my eyelids. But love the majority of the palette. I absolutely love. And even having to take a few extra minutes to blend, I'm okay with that. Color story is like 10 out of 10. I do really love the shimmer foiled special shades, and I'm excited to continue to reach for this. We know I'm going to be reaching for the bright yellow as an inner corner highlight all summer long, so we'll continue to play around with that, and I've been really enjoying that one from Oden's Eye. Coming in at number 5, I have the Vizier. One of you left me a comment and told me how to say it. It means the beach, I believe. This one from Viseart. Love this. It's currently going in my No Pan Left Behind. I'm so excited to reach for this one for the spring summer too. It just gives me very like Venice beach or like Italy. Like I'm thinking of like a sailboat in, is it the ocean or is it just like the water? It's gotta be, is it the ocean? With like the cliffside. Like, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, I swear there's like a cute little cafe on like this rocky cliff, and I'm just thinking about like either sipping like a latte out of like a pink and black striped straw with like a big hat on. Like, I clearly have a vision when it comes to this palette, or sipping like a nice refreshing margarita in like a white strapless white strapless like swimsuit. That is like what I'm thinking of. Oh, when I think of this palette and me using it, it's just putting me there. It's putting me there. I love this palette. This palette has made me want to try more from Viseart. I feel like in the past I've not had good luck with Viseart, but I absolutely adore this palette. I love the mattes. I love the shimmer shades. I definitely consider these more of just like a shimmer. They're more of like a light wash of a foil rather than like an intense metallic foil. And there's a time and a place, and I absolutely love this palette. Very excited to continue to reach into that. Coming in at number 4, I have my other Kaja stack. This is the Forest Night palette, and let me just tell you, this special chunky shimmery foiled shade I am obsessed with. It is like this golden green, and of course it's not going to swatch well now that I'm saying that. I do kind of have to dig my finger in a bit, but it's just this really beautiful golden green sort of shade, and with a brown smoky eye. It is so pretty. I am obsessed. I am excited to continue to reach for this as well. I'm so happy to have this. I'm just showing the other shades. A really beautiful stack. Very happy to have this in my collection. My number 4, I will continue to use that, and I have a feeling with my sultry brown smoky eyes this summer, this will continue to be one of my higher ranked palettes slash quads slash just eyeshadow situations in my rankings. Coming in at number 3, I have my Dragonfruit palette from Cliodah Cosmetics. My cap lid cover broke off. This is what this looks like. Speaking of color, love this. Very excited to continue to reach into this summer for more pops of color. I feel like I just saw Lauren, speaking of Lauren May, I feel like I just saw her do a look where she used Fruit Fizz all over the lid for like an orange sparkly situation. And after seeing that, I was like, I need to create an orange sparkly situation on my eyes now. So you will definitely be seeing more of this palette ranked this summer, because I will continue to reach into that. Coming in at number 2, we have this beauty from Danessa Myricks. I have raved about this palette quite a bit on my channel. This is the Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 3. One of my most unique palettes in my collection. All of these shades are like multi-chromes. This shade Polaris is a cream shade that you can layer on top of or use as a base, and then put these shades on top of Polaris, and you get not only the 8 shades in this palette, but you get like 16 shades then, because you can truly transform these shades and mix them together and layer them with Polaris to create even more fun dimensional multi-chromes. I'm holding it up here and it looks like this gold glossy shade, but looking at it in my light, I'm seeing like a teal green. It's such a cool shade, as are all of the shades in this palette. I highly recommend this if you are looking for a palette with just buttery, soft, smooth, dimensional shades that you are not going to find in your collection. It's such a cool palette, so unique. I can't rave about that one enough. I can't shut up about it. Love it. Highly recommend it. And my number 2, and that is currently going in my No Pan Left Behind. I have a feeling you'll be seeing that ranked here in the next few months as well, because I enjoyed reaching for this one a lot last summer, and I have a feeling it'll be the same this summer. I feel like I keep saying I'm so excited to continue to reach for this palette and this palette and this palette. But anyway, coming in at number 1, speaking of like color, no. My number 1 is a neutral palette. It is the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 1. Love this palette. This is gonna give me all of the warm brown, sultry, smoky eyes that I need this summer. I love the addition of the cream shades. I actually do use them, and I actually do really enjoy having them in my collection. I feel like they add a ton of value to my collection. I know this is a more expensive palette, but this continues to be a favorite palette in my collection. It is like the perfect warm brown staple palette. So if you are looking for the best staple warm brown palette out there on the market, I'm gonna point you in this direction. That's what I'm gonna do. All right, you guys, after that is going to wrap it up for today's ranking video, ranking all of the palettes that I used in the month of April. It is winding down towards the end of the day. I need to have a slice of pizza, and then I just finished Hot House Flower, and I will be starting the next book in the Addicted series, and I'm just so excited. I'm gonna go take a bath, I'm gonna go read. That is gonna wrap it up for today's video. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch. Would love to know, what was your most used palette, or your favorite palette, or a palette that you hated this past month? Let a girl know in the comments below. Other than that, thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch, for supporting me, for supporting my channel. I love you guys so much, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.